I believe it is important for every student studying any subject to have more than just a little background knowledge about the field they're going into. My field of interest and what I'm majoring in is accounting, so I thought it prudent to interview an accountant, my friend Natalia Chabruk. The reason I chose to go into accounting, this is starting on slide 2, is because I enjoy office work, organization, numbers, and I have a little bit of past experience with doing things in the field of accounting or related to accounting, so I thought this would be a good fit for me. The person that I chose to interview, like I said, is Natalia Chabaruk, and the reason that I chose to interview her is because she's a friend of mine. I've known her for a long time. She goes to my church, and she has been working as an accountant successfully for the past 7 years, which I believe is just enough time for her to have gained a little bit of real world experience, and also not too long for her to forget what it's like to be in college. So she'll be able to give me some tips and pointers and things like that, about what classes to take and electives and things that are more important versus less important in college. Moving on to the third slide, a little background on Natalia. She graduated from Eastern Kentucky University with a bachelor's in accounting in 2009. She, like I said, she's been working for 7 years, almost 7 years. She has had 2 jobs, working for RPS and Tempur-Pedic. And during the time that she was working at these 2 jobs, she's also volunteering as the main accountant for a nonprofit mission organization, Christian Mission Ebenezer, that sponsors over 50 missionaries from Ukraine. Another little piece about her is that she considered going into nursing before going into accounting, and that is very similar to my experience because I considered going into nursing before accounting, so hearing her story and her testimony helped me make my decision. A few of the main themes that emerged from our interview about accounting is that it's really important to understand that every job is different and also to be connected and dedicated within the field of accounting. So these are 2 of the main themes that emerged. The first one, like I mentioned, was that every job is different. This theme emerged as a result of a few things that she mentioned. One of the first things is that there are many different areas of accounting that you can go into. For instance, at her first job, Natalia worked at RPS just doing the accounts receivables. But at her second job, Tempur-Pedic, she did both accounts receivables and accounts payable. And working in the mission, she actually is the only accountant. She's the head accountant, so she just does everything. So every job is different, and it's really important to kind of know what you're going into and to really specify your knowledge to that certain area. Another thing that she mentioned, and this is on slide 5, another thing that she mentioned is that for every job you're going to have to be trained, because every job has different requirements, and every job, most jobs, use different programs. You will rarely find jobs using the same programs. For instance, her first one, in her first job, she had no idea what kind of program they were using, and when she first entered that job, she ended up having to train for that job, learn the new program that they were trying to install into their company, and then she became kind of like the expert on that program and was later having to train all the other employees to switch to that program. She said that was one of the major challenges she faced in that job. But then with her mission job, where she volunteers, they used QuickBooks, and at Tempur-Pedic they used a completely different program altogether. So that's probably why you have to train for a while, and one of the challenges she would say with accounting. Another thing she mentioned is that it's really important to really understand the fundamental introductory accounting classes, to constantly refresh them, because sometimes that is the only commonality between jobs, because every job is different and there are different areas that are focused on in each job. The second theme that emerged was that you must stay connected and dedicated. And staying connected, basically what she meant by that was that you have to know people or the best way to get a job is to know somebody or to have connections. So it's really important. She said she got her first job because she had worked at the company previously, and when she got her accounting degree, they just simply switched her into accounting. And her second job at Tempur-Pedic, her brother and sister-in-law worked there, so they were able to vouch for her. So it's really important to know people as well. To stay dedicated, by that she meant that most accountants are paid salary, not hourly. So you really have to, sometimes you have to stay late, and there are times, especially at like quarter ends and such, that you really have to pay attention to that, and you really have to be dedicated to your job. Not only that, but there was a time when she was trying to reconcile the accounts receivable, and she had to stay for hours going through records and accounts just to track down 3 cents. So you have to have a lot of patience and responsibility, which I think is some of the most important advice she gave me. Staying connected, practicing responsibility and patience, and really learning and remembering the fundamentals from those introductory accounting classes. Moving on to the last slide. After the interview, I am even more interested in pursuing accounting, and the reasons that accounting appealed to Natalia are some of the same reasons that it appeals to me. And after hearing her story and her testimony, I really do think that accounting is a good fit for me, and I'm excited to continue my education in accounting. Continuing my education, I will continue studying accounting and strive to remember or refresh or take electives that will refresh the fundamentals of the introductory courses of accounting. And then later on, after I graduate, I will try to earn my CPA license. So that was about my industry interview.